Hey everyone, ready to explore a way of eating that can help you feel healthier and happier? We're talking about losing weight and feeling great without the restrictions and guilt so many diets are known for.
It's interesting because this actually tackles a lot of those frustrations people have with restrictive diets.
hmm
The ones that leave you feeling deprived and then you end up right back where you started.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's looking for that perfect balance, a way to eat that's sustainable, enjoyable, and actually works long term, right?
Exactly. And that's where flexitarian eating comes in. It's not about strict rules, it's about finding that balance that works for you.
I love it already. So for this deep dive, we've got some great insights to share. We'll be drawing from interviews with Dawn Jackson Blattner. She's a registered dietitian who actually wrote the book on flexitarian eating, as well as Amanda Bletchman, another registered dietitian working with Danone North America. And of course, we've got some really interesting research on the topic to round things out.
One thing that really stands out is that flexitarianism isn't about labeling foods as good or bad. It's about shifting the focus to what makes you feel your best, physically and mentally.
So it's less about deprivation and more about choices that nourish your body and support your well-being.
Precisely. It's about finding that sweet spot where you can enjoy those favorite foods while still prioritizing those nutrient-rich options that fuel your body and help you reach your health goals.
All right, so let's break it down. Who exactly is this way of eating for? Is it only for those who are already pretty health conscious?
Not at all. Flexitarianism is for anyone who is tired of that diet roller coaster and wants a sustainable way to eat healthier, lose weight, and just feel amazing overall. It's especially appealing to those who want the benefits of a plant-based diet but maybe aren't quite ready to give up meat entirely.
Okay, so you're saying I don't have to become a vegetarian to reap the benefits. That's a relief.
Exactly. It's about finding what works for you and your lifestyle. Think of it as a personalized approach to healthy eating that prioritizes flexibility and enjoyment.
Okay, I'm all for flexibility, but what does this look like in practice? What kind of foods are we talking about?
Okay, picture this. A colorful mix of fruits and vegetables, hearty whole grains, and a variety of plant-based proteins. Think beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, and soy products.
Okay, I'm liking the picture so far. But hold on, what about nutrient-rich foods like dairy and eggs? Where do they fit in?
Flexitarianism welcomes those too. You can definitely include yogurt, good for protein and calcium, eggs for that complete protein and choline, and even fish for those essential omega-3 fatty acids.
Omega-3s, I've heard those are important. Can you remind me why?
Well, they're healthy fats that are crucial for heart and brain health. They can also help reduce inflammation in the body. You can get them from fatty fish like salmon and tuna, or plant-based sources like flax seeds and walnuts.
Got it. So we're talking about balance here, but I have to ask, what about meat? Does that have a place in the flexitarian world?
Absolutely. It's not about eliminating meat completely, but rather reducing it to a moderate level. Dawn Jackson Blattner, the author we mentioned, she actually has this concept of a flexitarian spectrum. The levels go from beginner to expert. But even she says it's about finding what works best for your own needs. It's not about some unrealistic ideal.
Okay, I'm interested in this spectrum idea. What do those levels look like in practice?
So a beginner flexitarian might align with the USDA guidelines, eating about 26 ounces of meat and poultry per week. As you get more comfortable, you might decrease that to around 18 ounces per week, which is the advanced level. And then for those who want to really focus on the plant-based side of things, the expert level aims for around 9 ounces of meat and poultry per week.
So it's a gradual shift, not an all-or-nothing approach.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so sustainable. You're not depriving yourself, just making conscious choices to prioritize those plant-based foods that make you feel your best.
So you're saying I don't have to completely give up my favorite burger. I can still enjoy it.
Absolutely. It's all about finding that balance. Maybe you try a lentil burger or a blended burger sometimes, or you just enjoy a smaller portion of meat and load up on those delicious sides.
Okay, that makes sense. It's about making those swaps and finding ways to include more plant-based choices into meals.
Exactly. It's not about restriction, it's about expanding your horizons and discovering new flavors and textures.
Speaking of new discoveries, what about some of the myths surrounding this way of eating? For instance, is flexitarian just a fancy word for omnivore?
That's a common one, but there's a key difference. Both flexitarians and omnivores eat both plant and animal products, but the intention is different. A flexitarian is choosing to be more plant-based, whereas an omnivore doesn't necessarily have that focus.
So it's not just about what you eat, but the reason behind it. It's a conscious effort to shift toward a more plant-centered diet.
Exactly. It's about aligning your food choices with your values and goals.
Okay, myth busted. What about the worry about not getting enough protein on a flexitarian diet? That's a common one, especially for people who are used to getting their protein from meat.
That's a valid concern, but it comes from a misunderstanding of how protein works. The beauty of flexitarianism is that you're incorporating so many different protein sources, both plant-based and animal-based, that you're getting all the essential amino acids your body needs.
So it's not just about the quantity of protein, but the quality and variety.
Precisely. Think about it. You've got beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, soy products, and you're still enjoying some dairy, eggs, and a bit of meat and fish. It's a protein powerhouse.
I'm starting to see how this whole flexitarian thing works. You get to enjoy a variety of foods while still getting all the nutrients your body needs. But I have to ask, isn't it expensive? All those fruits and vegetables and specialty plant-based foods can add up.
That's another myth we can debunk. One of the great things about flexitarian eating is that it can be really budget-friendly. Think about it. A pound of lentils, which can make several meals, often costs less than one serving of steak.
Wow, you're right. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Yeah.
And you don't have to buy all those fancy meat alternatives to enjoy good plant-based meals.
Exactly. Beans, lentils, tofu, tempeh, they're all super affordable and versatile.
Okay, so it's affordable, it's packed with protein, but what about feeling full? Won't a plant-based diet leave me hungry all the time?
That's another myth that just doesn't hold up. Flexitarianism emphasizes fiber-rich foods, fruits, veggies, whole grains, legumes, and that keeps you feeling full and satisfied for longer. And don't forget the protein from those different sources, which also helps with fullness.
So it's not about starving yourself, it's about nourishing your body with foods that keep you feeling good.
Exactly. It's about a sustainable approach to eating that supports both your physical and mental well-being.
Okay, last myth I want to tackle. Some people think flexitarian eating is boring. Like, how exciting can a salad really be?
That's where the flex in flexitarian comes in. It's actually the opposite of boring. Because you have so much flexibility, you can get really creative in the kitchen.
So it's not about limiting yourself to a few boring dishes. It's about exploring new flavors and finding what you truly enjoy.
Exactly. You can experiment with new recipes, try different cuisines, and discover plant-based ingredients you might not have even known existed.
Okay, I'm sold. It sounds delicious, doable. But let's talk about what this way of eating can do for our health. I'm hearing good things.
The research is fascinating. Studies show that people who follow a flexitarian diet tend to weigh less than those who eat a more typical Western diet. And they tend to have better markers for metabolic health. Their blood sugar, blood pressure, and cholesterol levels are all healthier.
So we're talking about real, tangible results here.
Exactly. And it's not just about weight and metabolic health. Research is also emerging about the impact of flexitarianism on gut health.
I've heard gut health is incredibly important for overall well-being. Tell me more about that connection.
It all comes down to the trillions of bacteria living in our digestive tract, known as the gut microbiome. A diverse and balanced gut microbiome is essential for everything: digestion, nutrient absorption, immune function, even mental health.
So how does flexitarianism help with a healthy gut microbiome?
The key is the abundance of fiber in a flexitarian diet. Those plant-based foods nourish the beneficial bacteria in our gut, helping them flourish.
It's like creating a thriving little ecosystem in our gut. I love that.
Right. And that thriving ecosystem has all sorts of benefits: reduced inflammation, improved immune function, even better mental clarity.
This is encouraging. Weight management, better metabolic markers, improved gut health. What else can this way of eating do for us?
Well, the research is ongoing, but evidence suggests that a more plant-based diet like the flexitarian approach may reduce the risk of chronic diseases like heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and even certain types of cancer.
That's incredible. Sounds like this has the potential to transform our health in so many ways. Are there any risks associated with it, though?
Yeah.
Anything to be cautious about?
Because no food groups are completely eliminated, nutrient deficiencies are unlikely. However, it's wise to pay attention to your iron, zinc, calcium, vitamin D, B12, and omega-3 intake, especially if you're significantly reducing animal products. And if you have any concerns, it's always a good idea to talk to a healthcare professional or a registered dietitian.
That makes sense, making informed choices,
Yeah.
ensuring you're meeting your individual needs.
Exactly. And that's where working with a qualified professional can be helpful, especially if you have any health conditions or special dietary needs.
Okay, it sounds like there's a lot to love about this way of eating. But for those who are ready to start, what are some tips for making the transition?
The key is to start small. Don't try to change your whole diet overnight. Instead, pick one meal a week to go meatless. Maybe try Meatless Monday to get things going. Or try swapping half the meat in your favorite recipes with beans or lentils.
I love that. Small changes can make a big difference over time.
Absolutely. And get creative in the kitchen. Try a new plant-based recipe every week. There are so many delicious options out there. You'll be surprised at how much you enjoy exploring new flavors and ingredients.
That's a great way to keep things interesting and avoid feeling deprived. Any other tips you want to share?
Be sure to replace those meat-based proteins with other sources to stay balanced. Beans, lentils, tofu, tempeh, nuts, seeds, lots of delicious and nutritious options.
So it's not just about cutting out meat, it's about adding in those plant-based powerhouses.
Exactly. And try for protein variety. Don't just stick to one or two types. Aim for a rainbow of protein sources throughout the week.
That's a great visual, a rainbow of protein on our plates.
And while you're at it, load up on those colorful fruits and vegetables. Aim for at least 5 servings a day to get all those essential vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants.
So we're talking about creating a vibrant plate that nourishes our bodies from the inside out.
Precisely. And one last tip, try not to overload on refined carbs like white pasta, rice, and bread. Go for whole grains whenever you can. They'll keep you fuller for longer and give you sustained energy.
All of these tips are so helpful. It feels manageable when you break it down like that.
Exactly. And most importantly, have fun with it. Experiment, find what you enjoy, and make it sustainable. It's not about deprivation, it's about creating a way of eating that supports your long-term health and happiness.
That's such a key point. It shouldn't feel like a chore.
Absolutely. Flexitarianism is all about a sustainable, enjoyable way to eat healthier. And it's clear that it can have amazing benefits for both your body and the planet.
I'm feeling inspired to try it. And for those of you listening, we've got a link in the description that can help you get started on your flexitarian journey, maybe even reach your weight loss goals.
It's full of info, recipes, and support to help you make sustainable changes that will benefit your body and mind.
Definitely check it out if you're looking for a balanced and flexible approach to healthy eating. But for now, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll dig into some more fascinating aspects of flexitarianism, like how it can help you achieve food freedom and create a better relationship with food.
Stay tuned. Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about how flexitarianism can be a really great way to eat healthier and lose weight. But it's more than just about what you eat. It's also about how you think about food. It can really help you achieve food freedom.
Food freedom.
Yeah.
I love that. It's something so many of us are looking for, especially after years of trying those restrictive diets that just leave you feeling defeated.
Exactly. Flexitarianism helps you move away from that restrictive mindset where you're labeling foods as off limits and you're constantly feeling guilty. It's about giving yourself permission to actually enjoy all foods. No judgment.
So it's not about good foods and bad foods. It's about understanding that all foods can fit into a balanced diet.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that there aren't good or bad foods. There are just different choices that can nourish your body in different ways.
I've definitely been guilty of that, feeling guilty for enjoying certain foods. It really takes the joy out of eating.
Absolutely. Flexitarianism is about getting that joy back and understanding that food is meant to be enjoyed.
So how does flexitarianism actually help us achieve this food freedom? What's the secret?
It comes down to that flexibility we keep talking about. Because you're not following rigid rules, you can handle social situations, holidays, even travel, all those things that can be tough on a restrictive diet without feeling like you're missing out or breaking the rules.
That makes a huge difference. Because life is meant to be enjoyed, not restricted, right? It's about that balance that lets you honor your health goals without constantly denying yourself.
Exactly. It's about a balance that works for you, not some set of rules.
I like how it helps you become more in tune with your body and what it needs.
Absolutely. It encourages you to listen to those hunger cues, really savor your food, and just enjoy the experience of eating. It's all about tuning into your body and what it's telling you.
And that must be a big change for people who are so used to following strict diet rules.
It can be. It's about letting go of that all or nothing thinking and being more compassionate towards yourself. It's about making choices that match your values and goals without all that shame and guilt.
Since we're talking about making conscious choices, I'm wondering if flexitarianism helps us reduce food waste, which is something I've been trying to focus on more.
That's a great point. Because it emphasizes using lots of ingredients and being okay with leftovers, it's naturally less wasteful. You're not restricted to certain recipes, so you have more freedom to use what you have and get creative.
It's like it has a built-in sustainability factor. We're benefiting our own health, making choices that are better for the planet.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that our choices impact the world around us. By choosing a more sustainable approach, we can contribute to a healthier planet for everyone.
Okay, so we've talked about food freedom and reducing waste. What are some other cool concepts that come with this approach?
Well, Dawn Jackson Blattner, the author we mentioned earlier, she talks about this fascinating concept she calls visual wisdom.
Visual wisdom. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's about using your eyes to help you make food choices.
So we're not talking about some kind of superpower, right? It's about being more aware of what's on our plates.
Exactly. Before you eat, just take a moment to look at your meal. See the colors, the textures, the different food groups. Ask yourself, are there different colors, lots of veggies? Is there a good balance of protein, carbs, and healthy fats?
It's like a mental checklist before we eat.
And the great thing is, by simply being more aware of what's on our plate, we naturally start making healthier choices without having to count calories or anything like that.
So it's about trusting our intuition and our senses instead of external rules.
Precisely. It's about taking back our power and making choices that truly nourish us.
I'm really liking all of these tools and strategies. What else does Dawn Jackson Blattner recommend?
She also talks about the importance of the protein mix.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. What is that?
It's about making sure you're getting protein from different sources, not just your usual one or two favorites.
But looking beyond the typical chicken breast or steak.
Exactly. Remember, there are plant-based proteins, beans, lentils, nuts, seeds, soy products. Then there are animal-based proteins like dairy, eggs, and some meat. The key is to mix it up.
So we're not just aiming for a certain amount of protein, but making sure we're getting it from different places.
Precisely. It's like having a protein party on your plate.
I am here for that protein party. It makes getting enough protein much more exciting.
Exactly. And it makes meal planning much more fun.
Now, I want to talk about something that gets a lot of attention by him. Gluten. Everyone's going gluten-free, but is it really necessary?
Well, gluten is a protein found in wheat, rye, and barley. And while some people have medical conditions like celiac disease and need to avoid it, for many it's more of a trend than a necessity.
So are you saying gluten isn't necessarily the bad guy for most people?
Right. Often when people go gluten-free, they accidentally improve their diet because they start eating more whole foods and less processed junk. It's the processed foods, which often have gluten, that are the real problem.
That makes sense. It's not the gluten itself, but the company it keeps.
Exactly. And remember that just because something is labeled gluten-free doesn't mean it's healthy. Always read the ingredients and choose whole, unprocessed foods whenever you can.
So it's about being smart and not falling for marketing tricks.
Exactly. Food should be enjoyable, not something to stress over.
I love that. Speaking of enjoyment, let's talk about something many of us struggle with: satisfying that sweet tooth. What are some healthy ways to do that, especially as a flexitarian?
Well, first, make sure you're eating enough throughout the day and your meals are balanced. When our blood sugar crashes, those cravings hit hard.
So it's about setting ourselves up for success.
Exactly. Make sure you've got a good balance of protein, fiber, and healthy fats to keep you feeling full.
Great advice. But what about those times when you just crave something sweet?
When those cravings hit, go for natural sugars first. Eat lots of fruit. It's nature's candy and it's packed with nutrients.
It's about getting sweetness from whole foods, not those sugary processed things that leave us feeling sluggish.
Exactly. And you can have fun with fruit smoothies, fruit salad, baked apples.
That's great for daily sweetness, but what about when you want something more decadent, like a special occasion dessert?
There are tons of healthy desserts that fit into a flexitarian approach. Experiment with recipes using natural sweeteners like dates, maple syrup, or honey. And don't be afraid to use those nutrient-rich ingredients we talked about: yogurt, nuts, dark chocolate.
Ooh, I'm thinking yogurt parfaits, chia pudding, maybe even some dark chocolate avocado mousse.
Exactly. There are so many options.
It's about finding that balance and letting ourselves enjoy those treats without guilt or deprivation.
Precisely. It's all about a healthy relationship with food.
Now, I'm curious if there are any differences in nutrition recommendations for men and women, especially within the flexitarian approach.
Yeah.
Is it one size fits all, or do we have to consider individual needs?
Well, everyone's needs are different depending on their age, activity level, and health. But generally, men tend to have more muscle mass and might need more calories and protein than women.
Right, but it's not just about calories and protein. Women, in particular, need to be aware of hormonal fluctuations and how that affects their food choices.
That's a great point. It's all about listening to your body and what it needs. And don't hesitate to talk to a healthcare provider or registered dietitian if you have specific concerns or need personalized advice.
Personalized guidance is always helpful when it comes to nutrition. Now, I want to talk about something that's often debated: calorie counting. Do you recommend it, or is there a different approach you prefer?
I'm not a fan of calorie counting. It can lead to an unhealthy focus on numbers. Instead, I suggest what I call calorie consciousness.
Calorie consciousness. That sounds interesting. Tell me more.
It's about being aware of the calorie content of food without getting obsessed with the numbers. Understanding that different foods have different amounts of energy and making choices that align with your health goals.
So it's like finding that middle ground between being clueless and being overly restrictive.
Exactly. You're using your knowledge about nutrition to make informed choices.
Okay, so how do we become more calorie conscious? Any tips for actually doing that?
It goes back to that visual wisdom we talked about. Look at portion sizes, choose nutrient-rich foods, and pay attention to how different foods make you feel.
It's like tuning into our bodies and figuring out when we're hungry and when we're full, rather than focusing on calories or portions.
Exactly. And remember, it's okay to indulge sometimes. It's about finding a balance so you can enjoy all foods without guilt.
All right, we've covered a lot today. From the basics of flexitarianism to tips for satisfying our sweet tooth and making peace with gluten. What are some of the key takeaways you want listeners to remember?
I think one of the most important things is that this approach to eating is about flexibility, balance, and finding what works best for you. It's not about strict rules. It's about creating a sustainable approach that makes you feel good.
I love that. It's about giving ourselves permission to enjoy food and find a way of eating that nourishes our bodies and makes us feel good.
Exactly. And it's about the journey. Have fun with it. It's not about being perfect. It's about making progress.
Now, before we move on, I'm curious to hear about your journey with food and how you stay healthy. What are some things you do to find balance and nourish your body?
Well, for me, it's about finding that middle ground where I'm taking care of my body and also enjoying food. I don't believe in denying myself anything, but I also know it's important to make choices that make me feel good.
It's about honoring your health goals, but not feeling restricted.
Exactly. And it's always changing. I'm always learning new things. But there are a few things I always try to do.
I'd love to hear about them. What are some of your non-negotiables when it comes to a healthy relationship with food?
Well, staying hydrated is huge for me. I always start my day with a big glass of water. And I try to keep drinking water throughout the day. It keeps me feeling energized and helps my digestion.
Hydration is so important. I'm working on being better about that myself. What else?
Fruits and veggies are a must. I try to have them at every meal. A smoothie for breakfast, a big salad for lunch, or roasted veggies with dinner.
Nature's candy.
And I try to listen to my body. I eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full, instead of snacking when I'm bored.
So you're really in tune with your body's signals.
Absolutely. Our bodies are pretty good at telling us what they need.
Love that. Do you have any favorite healthy snacks you keep around for those times when you're hungry between meals?
Nuts and seeds are my go-to. They're full of protein, healthy fats, and fiber, and they keep me feeling full until my next meal. Plus, they're portable.
Nature's trail mix. I always keep a variety of nuts and seeds in my pantry.
And I make sure I have lots of fruits and veggies ready to go. Having healthy options readily available makes it so much easier to make good choices.
That's a great tip. It's all about setting ourselves up for success.
And I believe in treating myself. Life is too short to miss out on the foods you love.
So you don't believe in cutting out any foods entirely?
No way. It's all about balance and moderation. I enjoy treats every now and then.
I like that approach. It's about finding a way to enjoy everything without feeling deprived.
Exactly.
Now, I'm curious about your take on calorie consciousness. You mentioned you're not a fan of calorie counting, but how do you navigate that in a world where we're constantly bombarded with messages about calories?
It's important to remember that calories are not bad. They're simply energy. The problem is that we've become so focused on counting them that we've forgotten about the quality of food and how it makes us feel.
So it's not just about the numbers, but the overall nutritional value.
Exactly. That's where calorie consciousness comes in. You're paying attention to the calorie density of foods, but also understanding that not all calories are the same.
So how do we shift from counting calories to calorie consciousness?
One strategy is to focus on nutrient-dense foods. Foods that are packed with vitamins, minerals, fiber, and antioxidants, but relatively low in calories.
So things like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, lean protein.
Exactly. And when you focus on those foods, you naturally eat less of the calorie-dense, less nutritious foods.
It's about making choices that nourish your body, not just about staying under a calorie limit.
Precisely. And remember, it's not about deprivation, it's about making informed choices so you can enjoy everything in moderation.
This is so helpful. But what if someone feels overwhelmed with all the information out there? What's your advice for simplifying things?
Start with the basics. Lots of fruits and veggies. Choose whole foods. Listen to your body.
Those are the essentials.
Exactly. And don't be discouraged if you have a setback or don't see results right away. Just keep focusing on those core principles and figure out what works best for you. Remember, it's a journey.
Consistency over intensity.
And celebrate those little wins. Every step you take towards a healthier lifestyle is a victory.
This is so inspiring. It's about taking control of our health and creating a lifestyle that helps us thrive.
And remember, it's a journey. Be kind to yourself and don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
That's great advice. Now, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, what are some of your non-negotiables for a healthy lifestyle? What do you prioritize?
For me, it's sleep, hydration, and movement. Those are my foundation.
Those are the things you always make time for.
Absolutely. When I get enough sleep, drink enough water, and move my body, I feel amazing.
You found what works for you.
It's always a work in progress, but I'm always working on finding that balance.
Well, this has been such an insightful conversation. I've learned so much about the flexitarian lifestyle.
My pleasure. Remember, you can create a healthier, happier, and more sustainable life.
So true. For our listeners, check out the link in the description for more information and resources to help you on your flexitarian journey.
We have some great tips and recipes to help you get started.
Now, I want to leave you with a question. What one small change can you make this week to try out a more flexitarian way of eating? What new recipe will you try? What simple swap can you make that will get you closer to your goals?
Remember, even small changes can add up, so pick one thing that feels doable and exciting and commit to doing it this week.
And as you start, be kind to yourself, celebrate your wins, and enjoy the process of finding a way of eating that nourishes you, makes you feel good, and brings you joy.
Now let's move on to our final segment where we'll dive into some practical tips and strategies for making the switch to a more flexitarian lifestyle.
We've been talking about all the awesome benefits of flexitarian eating, like weight loss, better health, food freedom, and even reducing food waste. But, I'm just now realizing there's one thing we haven't touched on yet: the actual experience of eating itself.
Oh, that's a great point. We get so focused on what we're eating that we forget about the how.
Exactly. It's not just about the food, it's also about the way we eat it.
Precisely. It's about making it a more mindful and enjoyable experience. Slowing down, being present, savoring each bite.
I can see how that would make a huge difference,
Okay.
especially for those of us who are used to, rushing through meals or eating on the go.
It is a shift, for sure, but it's a shift that can really impact your well-being in a positive way.
Okay, so how do we make that shift? Any practical tips for bringing more mindfulness to our meals?
Well, one simple thing is to create a mindful eating space. Put away your phone, turn off the TV.
No distractions. Love it. What else?
Take a few deep breaths before you start eating. Helps to center yourself and bring your awareness to the present moment.
Oh, I can feel myself relaxing just thinking about it. Those deep breaths can work wonders.
For sure. And then as you eat, really pay attention to the flavors and textures and the aromas of the food.
Like a little meditation at the dinner table.
Exactly. You might be surprised how much more you enjoy your food when you actually take the time to taste it.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
When we're rushing, we barely even notice the food, right?
And when we eat mindfully,